to realize that even during those years, one of the reasons for that spike was the unbelievable influx of Wall Street money, which has just been sucked out of the commodity sector because of this overheated stock market. So this is actually a really old problem, Bart. This is not something new. Since the beginning of civilization, farmers have come to market all at the same time with an oversupply of their grains, and the prices have tanked. And there's a really old and simple solution to this. From Mesopotamia to Egypt to ancient China up until the present day, this is the moment for government intervention, either to go in there and set price floors, to buy the grain and put it in a grain reserve. And what will happen is you will stabilize that price, you will bring it up. Food is too important to be messing around and driving farmers out of business. Now, some might ask, well, what does the government need to do with their grain? In fact, every country on earth, except the United States, has a national grain reserve to guarantee food sovereignty. Why doesn't the United States have this? It's absolutely absurd. So once we have that grain, what can we do with it? Well, there are a number of things we can do with it. Either put it in that grain reserve or do the traditional thing we've done with foreign relations and use a plowshares and swords diplomacy and start getting that food out to the world where it's needed most, which also happens to be places where we need to get some political clout, places where terrorism is breeding in Eastern Africa and places like that, where the United States can really come in and be the savior.
Fantastic. But do you think this administration is able to, comprehend and get on that task, Fred, that foreign policy component of commodities?
This administration is particularly unable to understand any of these subtleties. They've been eviscerating the diplomatic corps. They have no sense of the pushes and pulls of how foreign diplomacy works. And they also don't understand foreign trade. I mean, they're putting up all these tariffs and barriers, and what's that doing? It's making the EU and France in particular putting up their own tariffs and barriers to protect their own farmers, so they're not put in the position of, well, really the farmers, let's say, in a country like India, who are losing so much money that farmer suicides are very common. People are drinking the pesticides which were meant for their crops. It's a global shame.
Fred, thank you so much. I've heard there's